Hello children, let me welcome you to the virtual class of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher. Children, we are in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic and because of that we are not able to go to school, but that doesn't mean we are going to stop learning. So we are going to do many lessons which are very interesting from your textbook through the virtual class here. So let us do a lesson in English today. So children, let us start with another lesson in standard 5th, and it is for scholarship and particularly scholarship English. And the lesson that we are going to do today is the next lesson in your syllabus, that is topic number 3.5, action verbs and auxiliary verbs. So now, do you remember we were talking about verbs in the previous lesson as well? So now we are doing grammar, children. So we are going to learn a lot about noun, verb, etc. Okay. Now in the previous part that we did, we talked about verbs conjugation. That is how verbs are used and how they adjust with the other words in the sentence. Alright. Now in today's lesson, we are going to talk about types of verbs. Now when we talked about verb conjugation, in that lesson also children, if you remember, we talked a little bit about types of verbs. Okay, I told you that there are certain words which are action verbs and there are certain verbs which are not action verbs. Alright, so now we also learned in that previous lesson about how a verb changes. Okay, to show different persons, different tenses, different numbers, different moods, etc. And we also learned that there are 6 different persons in English. So all these things we learned about in the previous topic that we did on verbs. We learned about the simple present tense, the simple past tense, the simple future tense, and the different types of this present tense, past tense, and future tense also. Now in today's lesson, we are going to move on and we are going to talk about what are action verbs and what are auxiliary verbs. So let us start by understanding what are action verbs. So an action verb tells what action someone or something is performing. Okay, so the word verb itself brings into our mind a picture of something happening. Okay, an action. In Hindi, we say kriya. Kriya means something which is happening. So when I say verb itself, it means an action which is happening. Someone is performing something. And particularly, an action verb means what someone is doing or what performance is happening. Okay, and you will see that an action verb once again tells us what action someone or something is performing. And let us look at a little bit more detail. So we'll look at a few examples. So see, mother carries the platter. So what is mother doing here? She is carrying the platter. Okay, so the word carries is an action verb. When mother carries the platter, there is an action happening, and the platter, actually the mother takes it from one place to another. Okay, so there's an action which is happening and there's a consequence also of the action. The platter is changing its place. Now, look at this example. The train chugged into the station. Okay, now this is a train, like the train makes a big noise and enters the station, chugs into the station. So the train entered the station. So you can see a action happening. The train moving into the station. Let's take a look at this one now. I believe it will rain today. So now when you say the word believe, can you actually see the process of believing? Can you see belief coming from somewhere? No. But still, believe is an action verb. Okay. Now there is something happening there. Though not physically, it is happening mentally. So it is also a action verb. And then we have Jolly remembered to bring her book. So remembering here is also an action verb. So all these are examples of action verbs. Okay, now let us take a look at some more examples. Anthony is throwing the football. So can you see Anthony there throwing the football? So which is the action word here? Yes, it is throw. All right. Moving on, let's see the next one. She accepted the job offer. So what did she do? Is she doing something like throwing? No. Okay, but she is accepting something. So that is also an action. She accepted the job offer. Then you have this one. He thought about his stupid mistake in the test. Thought, thinking is also an action. So thought, the word here is an action verb. Then we have, see, can you see his thinking? Someone is thinking. So he thought about his stupid mistake. So thought here is an action verb. John visited his friend for a while and then went home. So visit here is an action verb. Okay. Go is also an action verb. See, we have the word went. Now went is the past tense of go, which is also again an action verb. The dog ran across the yard. See the dog running. He's running across the yard. So ran here is an action verb. Then you have all these words which are in red, which are all different kind of actions. So throwing something, accepting something, thinking about something, visiting a person, running, all these are actions and hence they are called as action verbs. Alright, now let us try to do a small exercise with action verbs before we move on. So try to match the actions with the verb. So here you have the actions and here you have the words which describe the action. Simple. Alright, so let me leave you to pause the video here for some time and try and match these words with the actions. Let us see whether you can do it and then come back and play the video again and see whether your answer matches with mine. Alright, so here we go with the answers. So which one is walk? See, which one is walk? Yes, the girl in red walking. Alright, now what about run? Who's running? Can you see who's running here? The boy in the blue dress is running. He's getting late for school, I think. Okay, so this is a very, very simple exercise and you are in class 5. So I would want you to complete this exercise. Okay, I gave you a few answers now. So walk is what? The girl in red is walking. The third picture from the top. Running is the boy in blue is running. The fifth picture from top. Okay, so likewise try and match the action with the verb. So this is a small assignment for you as we go along. Okay, now once we are done with this, let us move on to what is an auxiliary verb. So we have action verbs and we have auxiliary verbs. So let us take a look at what are auxiliary verbs. So now auxiliary verbs means helping verbs. Verbs which help the main verb are called as auxiliary verbs. Now auxiliary verbs are also of two kinds. We have primary auxiliary verb and modal auxiliary verbs. Now you will learn more about these in the upcoming lessons. Okay, so but for now let us remember that auxiliary verbs are of two kinds. One is a primary auxiliary verb and the other one is a modal auxiliary verb. So when you talk about verbs, verbs are, one is action verb and one is auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb is primary as well as modal. It could be primary or it could be modal. Okay, so now again let us see what an auxiliary verb is. I told you it is a helper verb. Okay, so let's see some more things about auxiliary verb. Let's learn a little bit more about auxiliary verb. So a primary auxiliary verb is used in forming the tenses, moods and voices of other verbs. So remember, these are all helpers. So they always occur with some other verb, which could be the main verb. Alright, so what does the primary auxiliary verb do? It helps to form or it helps to define the tense or the mood or the voices of the other verbs. Okay, now the primary auxiliary verbs in English are the various forms of, you can say, be. Okay, so it could be, it could be is, it could be am, it could be are, being, been, was, were. So these could all be the different ways in which the word be is written. Okay, depending on the tense, etc. Depending on the person, etc. So this is one auxiliary verb. Then it could be the other one, that is do, and there could be various forms of do, like for example do, does, did. Okay, and then you have the next one, and that is have. Now when you say have, it could either be in the form of have, it could be in the form of has, or it could be in the form of had. Alright, so the primary auxiliary verbs, if you see, these are some of the main ones, that is be, do, have. And of course, we know of so many example sentences using these primary auxiliary verbs, isn't it? For example, see, with am you say, I am sorry for what I have done. Alright, with is you say, he is a great all-round player. With are you can write, you are never too old to learn. With was you can say, he was elected by an unanimous vote. And with were you can say, the children were playing with a ball. Alright, so these are all examples of auxiliary verbs which are primary. Am, is, are, was, were. To remember it easily, you can remember it as different forms of be, do and have. Okay, come on. Now let's move on and let's take a look at what a modal verb is now. You either say modal verb or you say modal auxiliary verb. Okay, so let's see what is a modal verb. A modal verb is a type of auxiliary verb that is used to indicate modality. Now what is modality? Modality means the various conditions like likelihood, ability, permission, etc. Possibility. There are so many other modalities. That is why they are called as modal auxiliary verbs. Okay, let's for example see this. Will, cannot, may not, must. All these words indicate either likelihood or ability or permission or possibility. Okay, so all these are example of modal verbs. For example, see here, two of my friends can play guitar. So when I'm saying that two of my friends can play guitar, I'm talking about their ability. So they have the ability to play a guitar. Okay, so they can pick up a guitar in their hand and they know what the different strings on the guitar are meant for, and when they play the guitar, it produces good music. So I can say the two of my friends can play guitar. So the word can here indicates ability of a person to do something. So can is a modal verb. Alright, now let us look at some modal verbs. So for asking permissions, if you want to ask for permission, what all verbs can you use? So you can use the word can again. So can I borrow your pen for a minute? Can I speak to John Wilson? So you're asking for permission here. Okay, so this is a little informal. That is when you're talking to your friend, etc. You can use this word can. Coming to the next one. When you want to be polite, that is you're talking to an elder. So what do? You use the word could. Could I please have a glass? Could I open the window? Alright, so what are you doing here? You're using the word could. You're making a polite request. Okay, coming to the next one where the request or the permission becomes a little formal. When you want to talk to your teacher, when you want to talk to your principal of your school, so you say may for permission. Okay, so you say, may I ask the question please? May we go home now? So you're getting a little formal. Alright, and finally, again for polite, you could say would also. Would you mind if I asked you something? Would you mind if I took this? So what are you doing here? You're being really polite. Alright, so see, so many different words you can use for permission. You can use the word can, could, may, would for asking for permission. Alright, so these are all examples of modal verbs. See, here are some more examples for you. So for can, you have I can speak English. Can I go to the bathroom? It can't be Mark. So here see, it is a negative form of can. When you say can't means cannot. Okay, then see for could, you have he could swim when he was 6 years old. See, that was his ability. He could swim. He could go to the theater. It could get much hotter in July. Now, when I'm saying it could get much hotter in July, what am I saying? I'm predicting. I'm saying that there's a possibility that the temperature might get hotter. I could lend you my notebook. I could. There is a possibility that I will lend you my notebook. May. It may snow tomorrow. May I come in? So see, these two mays have got different reasons. Alright, the first may is showing possibility, the second may is asking for permission. Now might again is a possibility, it might rain today. Might. We don't know whether it will actually rain, it might. What about must? Must means some kind of obligation, some kind of rule. You mustn't speak loudly here. So this is a hospital or this is a classroom and you're not supposed to speak loudly. It's quite dark. It must be after 8 o'clock. Again, it's a prediction. See, you're not looking at the clock, but you're looking at the surrounding and you're saying that it must be after 8 o'clock because it is quite dark. Should. Should is again an obligation. Here it is used in the negative. You shouldn't smoke. It is unhealthy. When you want to advise someone. Okay. Should you smoke? No, you shouldn't. Why? Because it is unhealthy. You'll fall sick. Now what about will? See the sentences. I think he will study harder this time. It is very hot today. I will open the window. So it is a decision that you're making. Okay. So these are all the different ways in which you can use these modal verbs. And there are many more also modal verbs when you talk about. There are many different modal verbs that we have learnt about and now we are learning them also. See, you have can for ability, you have will or shall for determination, you have may for possibility. Again, you can write may for permission. You could have write could for ability or sometimes even for possibility. Sometimes you say would for a past habit. Okay, when you say must, it means compulsion. When you say might, it means possibility. So these are all the different ways in which these words are used. And they are all modal auxiliary verbs. Or we call them as modal verbs also. Okay, now let us move on and let us come to the part of the lesson where we talk about our exam. Okay, we discuss the question patterns here. There are three main patterns of questions. So we'll take a look at the patterns first and then we will try and solve a few examples from these patterns. So here goes pattern number 1. Look at the pictures and fill in the blanks with the correct action verb. So you will see a picture of an action happening and then you will have to guess which word will suit that picture correctly. Okay, you will have to also pay attention to the form of the verb as well. Then you have fill in the blank with the correct modal auxiliary. And finally, you have fill in the blank with the correct primary auxiliary. So these are all basically fill in the blank questions. With the first one getting a little interesting because you will get to see some interesting pictures there. Okay, so come on, let's start with the first one. Look at the pictures and fill in the blanks with the correct action verb. So here is the question. The monkey dash down from the tree. So let's take a look at the monkey. What is the monkey doing? What is he doing, the monkey? The action is, the basic action, the base verb is jump. Okay, but then now you have to think about what tense you will use. How will you change the verb jump? So will you write the monkey jumping down from the tree? The monkey was jumped down from the tree? The monkey flies down from the tree? Or the monkey jumped down from the tree? So which one will be the correct one? First, second, third or fourth? Yes, it will be the fourth one. The monkey jumped down from the tree. So isn't it simple, children? I told you, it's a very simple exercise. And you will find it very interesting also. Moving on, look at the next question. My dog dash at strangers. So what does my dog do? Let's see what is the action. What is he doing? What is he doing? Yes. So let's select the word now. So my dog barks at strangers. My dog bites at strangers. My dog jumps at strangers or runs at strangers. So which one will be the correct answer here? Which is the verb that is being described? What is the action and what is the verb? So is it A, B, C or 3? 1, 2, 3 or 4? It is the first one. My dog barks at a stranger. So what is the dog doing here? He is barking. See, he is continuously barking. Alright, he is very annoyed, looks like. Coming on to the next example, Sham dash by train every day. Sham, what does he do? So the one person here is Sham. And what is he doing? Is it Sham is sitting by train every day? Sham travel by train every day? Sham travels by train every day? Or Sham traveling by train every day? So which one will be the right one? Sit, travel, travels or traveling? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Answer will be option number 3. Sham travels by train every day. Okay, so this was the third question. Moving on to the second last example in this particular pattern. Neeta's grandmother dash the flowers carefully. So now Neeta's grandmother is up to doing something with flowers. Let's see what is it. So what is Neeta's grandmother doing here? Let's check out. So is it pluck the flowers? Is it plucked the flowers? Is it snip the flowers or pull the flowers? So it could be any one of these, okay? But we have to pay a lot of attention to the word and to the form of the word. So Neeta's grandmother, option number 2, plucked the flowers carefully. So the action is of plucking. But if I write Neeta's grandmother plucked the flowers carefully, it is grammatically wrong. Okay, that is why answer number 2, plucked, is the correct one. Coming to the last example in this particular pattern, the girl dash the tray of sweets gently. Let's see what the girl is doing with the tray of sweets. Yes, what is she doing? She's bringing it here towards us. Okay, so let's see the word, which is the action verb. The girl carrying the tray of sweets. The girl carried this tray of sweets. The girl is carry. The girl carry. So which could be the correct one? It is option number 2. The girl carried the tray of sweets gently. How did she do it? She did it very, very gently because the sweets are looking very delicate. Okay, so this was pattern number 1 for you. Look at the pictures and fill in the blanks with the correct action verbs. Let us now move on and let us talk about pattern 2, which says fill in the blank with the correct modal auxiliary. So you have to use the correct modal auxiliary verb. Now what are modal auxiliaries? Let me remind you. It is be, is, am, are, being, been, etc. Okay, so let's take a look at the example sentence. The principal dash take action against him. I'm sorry, I just told you about primary auxiliary verbs. What are the modal auxiliary verbs? The modal auxiliary verbs are can, able to, will, shall, may, could, etc. Okay, so the principal dash take action against him, showing certainty. He has done something very wrong, and now the principal will, what will the principal do? The principal dash take action against him. Pakka. Okay, so which word will you use here? Will you say should? Will you say will? Will you say could? Or will you say ought to? So showing certainty. Which one will be the answer? It will be option number 2, will. The principal will take action against him. Okay, we are not saying should. We are not advising. We are saying that it is sure that after what he has done, the principal will take action. So it is certainty. Coming to the next example sentence. You dash wear a helmet while riding a motorbike. Compulsion. Now it is not advice. It is compulsion. So let's see what are the words which might go. You must wear a helmet while riding a motorbike. You can wear a helmet. You would wear a helmet. You could wear a helmet. So which one do you think is the right answer? It is compulsory. So which word will you use? The first option, you must wear a helmet while riding a motorbike. Okay, chalo. Now let's move on to the next one. Here comes question number 8. He dash speak Marathi well. Now we have to find a word which fits in here and will show his ability. Okay, so what are our options for the modal auxiliaries? We have might, we have may, we have can, and we have should. But the word which we write here should reflect his ability to speak Marathi. So which will be the correct option? Yes, it will be option number 3, that is can. So he can speak Marathi well. Alright, moving on to the next example. They dash die if no help reaches them. Now we have to look at a word which will indicate possibility. Possibility means something which could happen, something which could not happen, which may not happen. Alright, so let's take a look at the options here. So they should die if no help reaches them. They will die if no help reaches them. They must die if no help reaches them. Or they might die if no help reaches them. So which one of these words best indicates possibility? Is it 1, 2, 3 or 4? It is the fourth one, might. So the sentence will read as they might die if no help reaches them. And thus we come to the last example in this pattern where we will fill in the blank with the correct modal auxiliary. So here goes your question. 1 dash always be punctual. Now here the word which will fit into here has to show that it is very, very necessary, okay, to be punctual. So come on, let's select a word. So is it should, is it will, is it could, or is it ought to? Necessity. Which one is it? Yes, it will be the first one. 1 should be punctual. So when I'm saying should, it means it is either necessary or it is a compulsion in this case. Should can also be used as a word of advice. For example, when you say you should learn to read properly, you should learn to ride a motorcycle, you should learn to ride a bicycle. So you are advising someone also when you say should, but in this case it indicates necessity. Okay, now we will move on to the last and final pattern that we have. Before that, how will the sentence read? 1 should always be punctual. Okay, moving to pattern 3, where we follow the same pattern, but instead of putting in the modal auxiliary into the blank, we add the primary auxiliary into the blank, and this will be much more simpler. So let's check out the first example here, example number 11 in the video. He dash inviting us for his birthday. He are inviting, were inviting, is inviting, or does inviting? He, yes, he is inviting us for his birthday. So it is option number 3, which is the correct answer. Coming to the 12th example, she dash eaten all the food. So is it she have eaten, she has eaten, she is eaten, or she was eaten? So which one will be the correct option? It will be option number, yes, 2, where we say she has eaten all the food. Coming to the next example, example number 13, dash he know the importance of the subject? So now you're supposed to begin the sentence, begin the question. So remember, whenever you begin a question, you always start with a capital letter. So here we have all these options starting with a capital letter. So are he know the importance? Were he know the importance? Is he know the importance, or does he know the importance? So which one is the correct one? It is option number 4. Does he know the importance of the subject? And finally, you have the second last one here, Pushpa dash acting in a play. Okay, so Pushpa are acting, were acting, is acting, does acting. So which one is the correct answer? It is the third one. Pushpa is acting in a play. And finally, we have the last option, or we have the last example for this video today in pattern number 3, that is we dash not need the money now. We do not need the money now. We were not need the money now. We is not need the money now, or we does not need the money now. So what is the correct one? We, yes, do not need the money now. Alright children, so in this particular lesson, we talked about action verbs and we talked about auxiliary verbs. And we learned that an action verb is a verb that expresses physical or mental action. It tells us what the subject of our sentence is doing, either physically or mentally. For example, the words like swim, think, run, dance, all these words are action verbs. And then you have an auxiliary verb, which is a helping verb. An auxiliary verb can again be a primary auxiliary verb or a modal auxiliary verb. Primary auxiliary verbs are verbs which are different forms of be, do and have. That is, words like is, am, are, being, been, etc. or do, does, have, has, had and so on. Whereas modal auxiliaries are words which convey some meaning such as possibility, permission, ability, and words like could, may, must, will, shall, would, all these words are examples of modal auxiliaries. And after seeing all this, we also did a number of examples based on the pattern of question that you can get for your scholarship exam. So that was all for today, children. Kindly watch the entire video and also complete the tasks that I have set for you. So children, now you have watched the video. So after you watch the video now, you will have to complete a few simple tasks. Now you might have watched the video on your computers or your laptops or your mobile phones. Now after you watch the video, what will you do? You will please go to the description box which is given below the video. So what is the description box? See, the description box looks like this. Alright, and after you go to the description box, you will see that there are a few questions there. Now what are these questions about? These questions are about the lesson that we just learned or the video that you just watched. So what will you do? You will think back properly about the lesson and you will try and answer these questions. And note down the answers in your notebook if you want. Okay? After that, we have another task waiting. You will also click on the link which you will find in the description box to fill up the Google form. So now what is the Google form, children? It is nothing but a simple form. There are a few simple questions there about the video which you just saw and also about yourself. So these are the tasks now that you will have to complete after you watch each video. So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learnt a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.